Hello and welcome to a very special Walk for Epilepsy Live. I'm James Fettis. If you're joining us from the Epilepsy Foundation Facebook or YouTube pages, an extra special welcome. I host this live stream every Thursday night in the Epilepsy Walkers Around Australia Facebook group. If you're not a member, join today. You'll find the link in your Walk for Epilepsy registration email. Well, the day is finally here. It's the 1st of October, which means the walk is officially underway. I got out and about this morning, and so did hundreds of other people from around the country. It was great to see so many of you hitting the pavement to start clocking up your kilometres. And you know what? It's already starting to make a difference. We're well on target for our 25,000 kilometre goal, with almost 1,900 kilometres already logged. Don't forget, you can get those steps logged automatically if you connect one of two fitness apps. There's a how-to video on our social channels if you need some help. Meanwhile, our fundraising efforts are continuing at an awesome pace. We've just shot past $150,000 and 1,000 entrants, and we've still got 25 days to go. But every step and every dollar counts. If you haven't yet registered, it's not too late. Sign up at walkforepilepsy.com.au. Your contributions can make a real difference. Each week, we've brought you a news story from someone walking for epilepsy this year. This week's guest comes to us from New South Wales. She was diagnosed with epilepsy in her teenage years and is sharing her story now to prove that no one with epilepsy has to go it alone. Here's Alana Hallett. So, Alana, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, so look, I'd really like to start off by learning a little bit about your story. What's your experience with epilepsy been like so far?
Yeah, sure. Well, my experience, I mean, that's a loaded question, isn't it? So it's been a journey. I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 14. And I think in the beginning, being a teenager, no one in my family had epilepsy, and just all of a sudden I had a grand mal seizure, which then sparked many grand mal seizures. And I think for the first couple of years, it was a bit of a turbulent ride, just trying to find a medication that I responded well to. So in the beginning, I had a lot of seizures as a teenager and tried everything, Epilim, Topamax, Tegretol, all the different medications, and unfortunately had a lot of the adverse side effects that come with it. Huge weight gain, hallucinations, rashes, the whole spectrum. And so I think for a while there, it was a lot. And then I was introduced to Keppra in my early 20s, and that really just changed the whole epilepsy experience for me. It's been fantastic in stabilizing my seizures, and then I went to have 1 or 2 seizures a month, and I would be having them both of a day and of a night, but not multiple seizures a day that I was experiencing at times as a teenager. And then, interestingly, when I had my children, my oldest is now 6, having a baby for whatever reason really changed my epilepsy, and I started having grand mal seizures only of a night, which has never happened before, and that's been fantastic in the sense that I can now drive, and I'm obviously feeling a lot more safe. Not going out shopping with the possibility of hitting the floor. So I think, at the moment it's controlled as much as it can be. Not that I don't want to dismiss a grand mal seizure. They can obviously have a lot of impacts. But yeah, I think when you're at home and you're asleep and you're safe, in my case with my husband there to be able to help me, this is the best experience. I think that I'm going to have.
Being diagnosed as a teenager, going through quite a number of years of trying different medications is quite stressful. How do you think that impacted your sort of teenage years?
Yeah, I think I'm really lucky that I have a really supportive network and family who never sort of I didn't change the way that I live my life, because I wasn't, fortunately, I know not everybody has that luxury. Some people, they're going to have to make big changes. But, I went to school and participated in sports and was able to do everything. I just have periods or days where things would derail. I think there were, a few time periods where it was like, okay, this sucks, I have to stay home, and you're not well, or you're having those reactions. But I think if you have a positive family unit saying, it's okay, we're going to get past this and move on, that you do. So I don't really feel like I've lost any of my teenage experience or anything like that. I think mine was just a little bit of a different story.
Yeah. And what about now, growing up and having children? Do you think it's impacted your experience as a parent, or maybe the way that you go about things as a parent?
Absolutely. I'm very grateful my children don't have epilepsy. And feel very blessed about that. Because I now realize as a parent how the emotional impact that it must have had on my mother, now that I am a mother. But I think for myself, what's actually come of is I never used to tell anyone about my epilepsy because of the stigma associated with it. And I would only tell very select people on a needs basis. And I think my husband was a bit more vocal about it. He would tell people. But as a parent, I now realize that, I'm trying to encourage my daughter to be her full self and to own all her little quirks. And I think it's made me realize that I need to practice what I preach, do that myself, and to say, yes, I have epilepsy, and this is me. So it's really encouraged me on this journey to be more vocal, because I wasn't up until about literally 6 months ago.
Yeah, and we've seen quite a number of people sharing their stories, particularly as part of this walk. Do you think that that's important to raising awareness and to getting more people understanding what epilepsy is like and what we can do to support people living with epilepsy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so many people have epilepsy, and because it is a silent condition, it's not like who has epilepsy unless they have a seizure in front of you. And I think education is king, and that comes from awareness. I mean, having had multiple seizures in public arenas, on trains, on buses, the grocery store, it's really amazing how people don't know what to do. Given so many people have epilepsy, and that old wives' tale of sticking your hand and holding someone's tongue. Unfortunately, I've been on the receiving end of that quite a few times. It's actually the worst thing that you could do. And then there's other people who will turn you on your side, support your head. And it's creating, those people are aware of what to do. And from that, the repercussions are, I don't dislocate my shoulder, I don't bruise my face. It actually has a huge impact on my recovery if people are able to put me in the right position. So I think that awareness, and the other thing is, I think I've often been mistaken for, when I was in my early 20s, having seizures out and about, for being on drugs. People think you're on drugs because you're having a seizure. It's like, no, you have a medical condition and you don't do any drugs. So apart from my Keppra. So I think, it's important that people are aware. Just because, a young girl's having a fit, it doesn't mean that she is on drugs. It could be a medical condition like epilepsy, and that this is the way that you can help. And that all comes from awareness.
Yeah. And you're taking part in the Walk for Epilepsy this year. We've just started today. Tell us a little bit about your goals and how it's going so far.
Yeah, definitely. So my husband's on my team. He's always my biggest supporter. And together we want to walk 200 kilometers this month. And I started this morning. It was actually drizzling when I stepped out, and I was a bit hesitant. I was like, okay, I'm going to get wet. And I was like, no, I'm doing this. I'm committed to doing this. So I've been taking my dog, Oscar. You've probably seen him on some of the pictures and stuff. He's a beautiful Goldie, and he goes on long walks with me. So I kicked off that this morning, and yeah, we're just planning on lots of walks. We've recently started bushwalking with this new COVID, our newfound activity. So we'll be taking the kids on the weekend, and yeah, hopefully raising awareness for epilepsy and some funds.
Well, it's been a pleasure to speak with you, Alana, and I can't wait to follow the rest of your journey this month. You've done an amazing job so far, and we're only just getting started. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
I'm extremely grateful to Alana and her family for sharing their story, and indeed to everyone who's taken part so far. It's now time to look at the leaderboards, and it's been another big week with the very first team to break into 5 figures. We'll start with the individual leaderboards, and if you've been following these streams, these 3 names will be very familiar to you. We have Renee at $3,870, Shannon Taliana, who we actually had on the stream a couple of weeks ago, at $3,915, and Tamsin Brame, what a legend, $5,229. But we're really starting to see some serious momentum in the team leaderboards. Team Lockstar Rockstar on $6,676, Ava's Purple Warriors on $7,679, and Team Nay, what do you know, breaking straight past that $10,000 barrier to $11,050. I want to just take a moment to thank each and every one of you who has been fundraising for Walk for Epilepsy so far. We've seen an enormous amount of community spirit and some serious funds raised that really will make a difference for people living with epilepsy. So please make sure you pat yourselves on the back. Well, that's all that we have for this week. Make sure you're following us on social media to keep up with the latest news, and join the Facebook group if you haven't already. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you again soon.